Wow! You are really talented, kid. The Earth gives you the power to destroy humanity, yet you use it to pick up girls. He, drunk, completely disregards exposing his abilities. Zoe was so scared by him that she dared not move. After 2.5 minutes, she finally confirmed that she was seeing a ghost. She sobered up all at once. The man possessing the ability to exterminate humanity, force of nature, has returned. Gaia, who got drunk not long ago, inadvertently activated superpowers. He derived the ability to glow from fireflies to amuse Zoe. But Zoe, who adheres to scientism, was completely sobered up and frightened by Gaia's tricks. She couldn't understand why people would glow. Scared silly, she subconsciously turned and ran. Gaia, glowing, caught up with her. He shouted, "Danger ahead!" But quick-witted Zoe was already too late to react. Her body couldn't stop as her foot tripped on a stone, and she stepped off the edge of the cliff. Losing her balance, her body tumbled towards the abyss. At this moment, the dormant power within Gaia's body completely awakened. The blurry memory of witnessing the death of a loved one is etched in his mind. He recalls the abilities of the cheetah in the animal world. Gaia derived the speed of the cheetah and rushed towards the cliff. In an instant, he appeared above Zoe, and his expression returned to its usual lifeless state, rushing towards the ground at the speed of a peregrine falcon. In this instant, he caught Zoe without missing a second, making it the first time Gaia had such a close contact with Zoe. His face unexpectedly blushed. At this moment, Zoe was trembling in fear and tears. The next morning, at the research institute, Zoe, who was still drunk, went to work with a blank expression on her face. People are studying the biological characteristics of a creature named steel. Research has found that it has an extremely fast regeneration speed. No matter what kind of damage it suffers, it can split and regenerate into a complete individual. Immediately, the department head took out a bottle of scientific sulfuric acid and dripped it into the steel container. But even sulfuric acid cannot harm it at all, just making it wildly agitated. And his other regenerated beings also started to act up along with it. They realized that this creature has some kind of neural connection. Zoe saw this scene with strong unease. However, the department head found it very interesting, indicating that this is a significant breakthrough for humanity. Humans have not realized it yet. This creature created by humans. It has the same goal as Gaia, which is to eradicate humanity. After conducting research, Zoe vaguely asked the department head, "Is it possible for humans to derive animal abilities in themselves?" In simple terms, it means humans have the speed of a cheetah, the strength of a dragon, etc. And the department head looked serious, saying that this can no longer be called human, but should be referred to as a monster. That kind of ability was the subject of human experiments. Gaia, who is aloof at night, became a laborer to make a living. The moment he saw Zoe, he immediately switched to simp mode, completely oblivious to Zoe's heavy-hearted appearance. Zoe looked at the idiot in front of her and asked, "Do you remember what happened last night?" But Gaia pretended to have forgotten everything. Zoe angrily slammed the table and told him to stop pretending. "What happened to your superpowers yesterday?" And Gaia herself doesn't know what's going on. But she felt that she could derive the unique abilities of all living beings. He also said that if Zoe, you don't like it, then you don't have to use this ability in the future. But Zoe asked curiously, "What do you want to do with this ability?" Gaia looked up and thought for a moment. The vague image of a past murder suddenly appeared in his mind. Then he blurted out, "I want to eradicate humanity." Humanity breaks the laws of nature in order to extend their lifespan. They create beings that should not exist on Earth. Humans believe this is progress in technology. Humans do not realize that they have created a terrifying life form that aims to eradicate humanity. However, it is not the only one with such a goal. There is also the Gaia without memory. Just now, Gaia unconsciously said that she wants to eradicate humanity. Zoe looked at him in disbelief. Gaia, who had regained consciousness. He didn't know how he had said such words. Zoe felt very strange. How could a simple and cute boy say something so inhumane? She then wanted Gaia to cooperate in investigating the mystery of his body. Then she took out a research subject consent form for him to sign. Gaia doesn't care if he can't understand these. As long as it's Zoe, he will do it. He quickly wrote down his full name. After signing his name, he asked Zoe if there was anything else he needed to do. Zoe, however, looked at him with a mischievous smile. The next day, he and Julia returned to the shop. She saw Gaia looking weak. She was frightened and lost some color in her face. She, feeling sorry, asked Gaia, "Who bullied you?" Gaia looked depressed. He recalled last night when Zoe, with a smile, drew her own blood. She even made herself drink all kinds of strange things, and finally stabbed herself in the stomach with a tube. Gaia regretted not signing that contract earlier. Zoe just finished bathing at this time. He lies in bed tossing and turning, unable to sleep. A feeling of unease washes over him as he keeps thinking about what Gaia said. Eradicate humanity. Zoe always feels that something terrible must have happened to humanity for Gaia to hate them so much before losing her memory. The next morning, she brought Gaia's blood to the research institute for testing. But the results of 3 consecutive tests she did all showed a sample of ordinary male blood. The colleague beside her was very puzzled as to why Zoe was so fixated on this blood sample. Zoe casually made a few remarks and then left. She looked at Gaia's blood, lost in thought. There was nothing unusual about Gaia's blood. But why does he have such a magical ability? This has completely surpassed human scientific understanding. At this moment, all the scientific knowledge she has learned instantly collapsed. Just as she passed by the entrance of the Steel laboratory, Steel's tentacles began to wriggle, as if Gaia's blood was drawing it in. Steel was writhing as if electrified. It was as if he wanted to break the bottle and break free. When the researchers noticed, they were startled by Steel's demonic appearance. He accidentally knocked over Steel's container. The department head on the side could only watch helplessly as the container fell. In an instant, a strong sense of unease swept over his whole body. And at this moment, Gaia also sensed a terrifying aura starting to awaken. The Steel escaping from the container seemed to awaken as if consciousness. It wriggled its tentacles frantically crawling towards the 2 people. The department head immediately instructed the subordinates to bring containers. Unexpectedly, Steel's tentacles began to stretch out. It pierced through the department head's skin. Scientists accidentally broke the container in an effort to benefit humanity. Humans released a terrifying entity that could annihilate humanity. At that moment, Gaia, the barista at the coffee shop, suddenly felt her pupils contract. She sensed a presence even more terrifying than herself. And it was coming from Zoe's direction. The unbound Steel showed strong hostility towards the human studying him. Department head Anthony quickly told his subordinates to bring a new container. Little did he know that danger was slowly approaching him. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain, only to see Steel's elongated tentacles biting into his finger. Just as department head Anthony watched in horror at Steel. It was strange that it retracted its tentacles and discharged a strange black liquid from its body. Its body gradually shrunk until there was no sign of life, and it died completely. Department head Anthony quickly looked at the split entity Steel next to him, whose split entity shared a set of nervous system with him. Normally, when the original entity dies, the split entity should also die. But they are completely fine. Department head Anthony feels that things are not that simple. A sudden intense pain swept through his arm. His fingers twitched uncontrollably. It turns out that Steel's nerve cells are gradually attacking his body. The intense pain made department head Anthony continuously scream in agony. Zoe, who heard the commotion outside the door, rushed into the laboratory. She saw department head Anthony foaming at the mouth. Zoe was about to call an ambulance. Unexpectedly, Department Head Anthony's eyes suddenly turned red. She stared fixedly at Gaia's blood sample. Steele controlled his body to stand up in an extremely weird posture. He rushed crazily towards Zoe. He rushed to Zoe's front at a speed beyond human. Zoe didn't have time to react. Steele across from her seemed poised to kill the woman. In that split second, her hero appears on the scene. Gaia teleported and used Electric Eel's power to electrocute Department Head Anthony into unconsciousness. Gaia turned around with a concerned look on her face and asked Zoe if she was okay. But Zoe obviously hadn't recovered from the shock. A colleague, who was watching, mistakenly thought that the overly concerned Gaia was Zoe's boyfriend. He then looked down at the wound on his hand. It was caused by Department Head Anthony during the recent outburst. But he did not think so, completely unaware of how serious the consequences would be. Later, Gaia cast a malicious glance at him. Gaia clearly sensed the strange aura emanating from his body. He was so scared that he didn't dare to look directly into Gaia's eyes. Afterward, Department Head Anthony was taken to the ambulance. Everything seems to be not very dangerous, but his fingers are twitching uncontrollably. Zoe asked Gaia, "How did you know it's dangerous here for me?" Gaia didn't know how to respond either. He said, "That's a kind of intuition." Gaia wants Zoe to leave here because it's no longer safe. And Zoe's colleague clocked out from work as usual. His hand also started twitching uncontrollably. The man was bitten by the creature Steele that he had created. He seemed to want to tear the woman in front of him to shreds like a zombie. In a critical moment, her hero has arrived. Gaia appears instantly and delivers a powerful blow with bare fist. Pressed Department Head Anthony to the ground and stun him with electricity. Afterwards, Gaia asked Zoe to leave this place. It's no longer safe here. He reached out to grab Zoe's hand, wanting to forcibly take her away from the research institute. Zoe pulled his hand away angrily and asked, "What's going on? What danger is there?" At this moment, Gaia didn't know how to respond either. But his intuition told him that danger was imminent. He also asked Zoe to trust him once. Zoe looked at him with a worried expression. Although the situation was sudden and unbelievable, she still chose to trust Gaia. Soon, the two drove to a remote place. Zoe took a few days off from the research institute due to illness. Gaia finally relaxed. At this point, Zoe took out Gaia's blood report, which showed no abnormalities compared to an average person. Looking at the test report, Zoe fell into contemplation. Combining his previous unconscious statement of wanting to eliminate humans with his magical animal abilities, she felt that he might pose a danger to humanity. There were too many mysteries about him. But she still believed in Gaia. Then, surprisingly, Zoe asked Gaia if he liked her. Gaia answered without hesitation that he did. Then Zoe asked if others also liked her. Gaia's eyes became sharp, and he fell silent. He expressed that he didn't have any thoughts about other people. But Zoe was firm in expressing her disgust towards other humans. Shortly after, they both got off the car. Zoe wanted to correct Gaia's antisocial behavior towards humans. She was sure something happened to Gaia before causing him to detest humans. However, Zoe admitted that sometimes she also despised humans, mortgages, car loans, and all that. It's really annoying, but it will pass. Obviously, Gaia wasn't paying attention to what she was saying. But that was also what intrigued Zoe. "Why do you only like me?" Gaia didn't answer. He took her to the other side of the sea. His finger pointed towards the endless ocean. Department Head Anthony woke up in the hospital. He suddenly opened his mouth wide. He uncontrollably bit the doctor's hand. The doctor, in pain, quickly released his hand and asked what was wrong with him. And at that moment, Department Head Anthony finally came to his senses. He kept apologizing. The doctor was afraid that he would harm himself again. He turned around, grumbling, and left. He didn't know what was wrong with himself. He looked at his finger bitten by steel. He recalled the doctor saying that his physical examination report was normal. He understood that it must be Steel playing tricks. It seemed like his consciousness was being eroded step by step. Unfortunately, it seems that with current human technological capabilities, it is impossible to fully decipher entities like Steel. And within the Research Institute, Leon, who was scratched by department head Anthony, is dozing off. A mosquito flies towards his side. It greedily sucks his blood. The mosquito, now full of blood, satisfied, flies away. And this mosquito receives a certain signal of consciousness. That is Steel's consciousness. Exterminate humanity. This is a mosquito carrying a virus similar to the zombie virus. Under its bite, the virus can spread between people. The number of infected individuals has reached 289. And this number is still rising. And the source of all this virus is a biological entity named Steel. It parasitizes its creator. Department head Anthony is a host organism for Steel. He found himself in a symbiotic relationship with Steel. In less than a day, he communicated through Steel's neural network. He can feel that the global infection number has reached 280,000 people. And he can also perceive. He can control the consciousness of all virus-infected individuals. He wants them to do whatever he wants. Also named this ability Puppet Virus, like playing with string puppets as if playing God, controlling the life and death of humans. This is very dangerous for humanity. And in front of him, there are two options. Option A is the plan to save humanity. Option B is to destroy humanity. On the other side of the sea, Gaia is using creature awareness to disperse the schools of fish in the ocean, then using force of nature to calm the restless sea surface. Although Zoe is a scientist, the scene in front of her still dropped her jaw. This is beyond what can be explained by science. Under Gaia's control, a massive waterspout formed in the sea, resembling a towering column of water. She truly did not expect that Gaia could manipulate nature on such a scale. Gaia then asked her if she wanted to take a ride. Zoe was completely baffled and did not understand at all. Before she could react, Gaia was already taking her riding the waves, breaking through the wind. She kept charging towards the distance, without being afraid. Because with me here, the land, the water, and even the wind are all under my control. He asked Zoe to feel the primitive atmosphere of this world with her heart. This is also why Gaia loves her. He thinks Zoe is as beautiful as nature. Because in his mind, Zoe is like the woman who has always given him a sense of warmth. At this moment, Zoe is also slowly blossoming a smile. Go feel all the beauty. He shouted out his wish towards the setting sun. At this moment, it is Gaia's first heartfelt smile in billions of years. Perhaps amnesia is not a bad thing for him. But such a beautiful scene. There will be no more in the future. That night, the two of them arrived at an island. Zoe felt that Gaia's abilities and existence were very dangerous for humankind. It was like the existence of a nuclear bomb. And now, Zoe seems to have become a ray of light for Gaia. She has also become a lock that Gaia will use to destroy humankind in the future. But Gaia is now willing to protect the world that she cares about. But once this ray of light disappears, then humanity will face two terrifying entities. And inside the Research Institute, Department Head Anthony, whose mind was influenced by Steel, does not understand. Why did God give himself the power to control the life and death of humanity? When he sees the news of various countries implementing unreasonable policies, quietly sweeping across the globe, and all these unreasonable policies actually benefit the beneficiaries, it will only be those high-ranking politicians and businessmen who benefit. The rich will only get richer. The poor will only get poorer. Until death. Such a dirty and selfish human society. Let him understand it thoroughly. This is destiny. He believes that this is God allowing him to create a better world, as long as enough people are infected. If one wishes, they can manipulate human consciousness with just a flick of a finger, triggering the Fourth World War of humanity. He watches as humans slaughter each other, What a marvelous scene it will be. He will then achieve the goal of exterminating the human race. By then, the earth will return to an era without humans. I, who can control all living things. I will be a godlike existence. That will be such a wonderful scene. Men think of themselves as godlike existence. They have the power to control life and death of humans. He controls the consciousness of 280,000 people worldwide with a neurovirus. And the number of people infected by the virus keeps increasing. While he enjoys the power of a deity. A figure appeared out of thin air in front of him. Department head Anthony asked who you are exactly. I'm called Gaia, and I am here to eliminate you. Department head Anthony was stunned after listening. His pupils constricted instantly. His eyes turned red and emitted a loud roar. As his glasses fell off, his consciousness was gradually taken over by the neuropathogen biological entity Steel. I can perceive that you and I exist for the same purpose. But why do you want to kill me? And a mosquito controlled by the Steel virus 5 minutes ago. It almost bit Zoe, almost causing the people he cared about to move away from him again. And this is also the reason Gaia came to kill him. Because your existence is very dangerous to her. Gaia finally stopped talking and released all her powers. She exuded a murderous aura all over her body. But Steel is not afraid at all. After speaking, he clenched his palm. Humans controlled by the cellular virus of Steel. Like zombies, they pushed through the gates and charged towards Gaia. Now all humans can become my weapons. Wanting to kill me is simply a fool's dream. I am now a god in this world. However, Gaia didn't wait for him to finish speaking and began attacking immediately. You are really weak as a god, Gaia said as she grabbed his collar, carrying him higher into the sky. They flew away from the city. The tremendous impact sent him flying to the outskirts and crashing heavily onto the stubborn rocks. Gaia made him spit out blood in an instant, but a few seconds later, Steel's regenerative cells healed his injuries. At this moment, Gaia also approached him. Gaia found it strange why he didn't die despite this. Since that was the case, Gaia decided to let him experience the ultimate violence aesthetics. Kill the undead you. Then I'll throw a few more punches. If you don't hit the like button, this punch will land on your face. Even if Steel's tooth was knocked out by Gaia. He was hit to the point of being like a pig's head, but he still didn't fall. His injured area is also rapidly recovering under the regeneration cells. After a series of attacks, Gaia was puzzled. How come this person is still not dead? The two of them looked at each other speechlessly. I can't kill you, Gaia said as he grabbed his neck with one hand, asking, what does it take to kill you? At this moment, Steel finally resisted. It wants to penetrate the virus cells into Gaia's body, but finds it ineffective. Gaia still asked him as if he were a fool. Why are you holding my hand? Then Steel opened his hands. Suddenly, countless birds and beasts rushed over. It wants to control all living beings and corrode Gaia. Gaia smirked contemptuously at the sight. He shattered the earth with a single kick. The strong vibration knocked down all the ferocious beasts rushing towards them. He casually threw Steel into the air. Gaia derives the jumping ability of the springbok. He jumped with all his might towards Steel. He punched through his abdomen. Such an exaggerated attack caused Steel to momentarily lose consciousness. The out-of-control animals began to escape the room. Steel, lying on the ground, slowly regained consciousness. This injury was no longer something that regenerating cells could repair. It must find a new host. Steel, barely clinging to life, looked into Gaia's eyes and saw a glimpse of fear. It was only now that he fully understood. There was absolutely no chance of winning in front of him. Suddenly, he recalled the girl that Gaia had previously tried so hard to protect. Despite being pierced through the body by Gaia. Despite the mouth full of blood. But he couldn't help but burst into laughter. Because he knew. What is Gaia's weakness? Don't forget to hit the like button. The man who was hammered into a pig's head thought he was a godlike existence. As a result, he was knocked down by a 59-year-old young man, even though it was pierced through the body by Gaia. But he still leaked out a terrifying evil smile. Steel controlled a group of crows flying over. It let the crows peck itself to the bone. Such a crazy scene left Gaia stunned. Realizing it, Gaia noticed something was wrong. He wanted to stop the crows from pecking, but it was too late. He found that the scent emitted by department head Anthony had completely disappeared. In an instant, the evil creature's scent was in the air. It turns out that Steel allowed the crows to peck at himself not to commit suicide, but to transfer the original entity to parasitize the crows. After Steel left department head Anthony's body, he slowly regained his consciousness as a human. He called out to Gaia and entrusted her with something very important. He said, "There is a folder in my computer that can save humanity." However, Gaia didn't wait for him to finish and turned and ran away. He is very clear about Steel's goals. He must hurry back to the coffee shop now. At this moment, Steel has the birds under control, and they have flown back to the city. Inside the coffee shop, Julia is complaining that there are fewer and fewer customers in the shop. It's all because Gaia isn't showing up to work. She can't just fire him directly. Gaia is now the facade of the shop. As she spoke, her hand couldn't be controlled and she pinched Zoe's mouth. She quickly withdrew her hand when she realized what she had done. Then Julia's head throbbed. Strange voices echoed inside her mind. No matter how hard she struggled, the voices wouldn't go away. Steel's virus cells were continuously attacking her brain. As she was about to lose control, she shouted for Zoe to run. Zoe was somewhat scared by her actions. The situation gets even more exaggerated later. People controlled by Steel filled the coffee shop like zombies. The next moment, they smashed through the glass and rushed in. Zoe was so scared she almost lost her soul. Julia was completely out of control at this point. Just as she was about to touch Zoe, a figure flashed past the top of the zombie's head. Her hero reappeared. Gaia pressed Julia directly onto the table. He also remembered to say sorry. "Madam Boss, please don't deduct my salary." Shortly after, he grabbed Julia by the head and ruthlessly flung her towards the out-of-control crowd. "I'm really sorry, boss lady." Zoe was stunned by Gaia's ruthless side. Earlier, Julia did an MBTI personality test for Gaia. The result of the test is an intimidating ISTP personality. At the same time, urgent news is being broadcast globally. People with abnormal mental conditions have been appearing all over the world. Experts have officially classified this symptom as a zombie infectious disease. They are unsure of the origins of this virus. Some people say it's a biochemical virus from the United States. Those who are infected all seem to receive a similar image and instructions in their minds simultaneously. The instructions contain an image of a long-haired Korean girl. The directive is to capture her. Return to the coffee shop. Countless zombies groaned as they lunged towards Zoe in the crowd behind her. A crow quietly watched over everything. And this is where Steel, who has just been reborn, enjoys the scene before it. Please go ahead and bite. Humans. Kill over-empathy woman first in the apocalypse. But what will you do if over-empathy woman is someone you love? Discussions on the internet can sometimes be really extreme. The next second, green cloth guy opened the window. He jumped from the 18th floor. The influencer guy was scared stiff. He didn't expect the game to be so realistic. He walked up to the window and looked down, only to find that his friend was not dead. But what was eerie was that other people were running in one direction like zombies. This horrifying scene shook him to the core. The world government had named the Steel Cell virus Zombie Herd, and it was spreading inside the coffee shop. Gaia was striving to protect Zoe. He knew that these people controlled by Steel were coming for Zoe. Gaia was just about to turn murderous. A wave of killing intent made Zoe's hair stand on end. The Gaia in front of her seemed like a completely different person. So unfamiliar. Just as Gaia was about to kill them, Zoe's overempathy suppressed the killing intent in his heart. She shook her head to indicate that he should not kill. Don't do this. Helpless, Gaia had to flee with Zoe on his back. But wherever they went, zombies quickly surrounded them from all sides. Seeing the situation, Gaia told Zoe to hold on tight. He derived the ability of a kangaroo and leaped up, landing on a rooftop. Zoe looked down at the crowd of people below who had lost their minds. She didn't understand what had happened to this world. Gaia explained to her that all of this was created by Department Head Anthony. Steele also mentioned that he had killed Department Head Anthony. It was unavoidable. Even so, Zoe couldn't understand why Gaia was so cold-blooded and ruthless. Those people are all living beings. They are just controlled by the virus. No matter what, we can't kill people. Overempathetic women really won't survive for long in the apocalypse. Zoe then turned around and walked away. She wanted to go back to the research institute to see if there were any clues to solve the crisis. Gaia was about to take her hand and continue carrying her to the research institute when Zoe pushed her away with one hand. She also said she couldn't understand Gaia's way of thinking. It was like dealing with a cold-blooded animal. She also told Gaia not to follow her anymore. Gaia stood there stunned for a moment. In her blurred memory, the warm woman would never again push her hand away. He watched Zoe's figure go away into the distance. Gaia seemed to have an epiphany. If she wants to protect the people she cares about, she must follow her original intentions. At this moment, the door to the rooftop was broken open. The zombie roared as it lunged at Zoe. He was about to touch her when Gaia's fist suddenly appeared in front of her. His ordinary punch made the zombie drop dead on the spot with blood splattering everywhere. Can't understand, can you? Don't you understand why I kill? A simple reason. Those guys want to take away my only spiritual support. Being kind to the enemy is cruel to oneself. I have lost once before. I don't care who wants to hurt you. They all want to die. He begins to derive creature ability. No matter what, I will protect you. Zoe looks at the man who sacrifices himself for her. He seems to be saying, as long as I'm here, everything is enough. And at this time, there is a building behind them. The previous influencer guy was holding a phone and live streaming everything. The barrage in the live chat instantly exploded. The number of viewers soared crazily. And this is how Gaia's ability was revealed to the public. And inside the National Emergency Conference room, the zombie virus has already given these leaders a massive headache. They are still figuring out how to cover up the situation and preserve their positions. An employee rushed in holding a live broadcast image of Gaia. The situation has now completely taken an unexpected turn. People don't know if this is a friend of humans or an enemy. Gaia watches the group of zombies paralyzed by her electric shock still not dead. They all stare at Zoe with red eyes. Gaia realizes that she must deal with the virus' original entity first. After calming down, he senses Steele's presence nearby. When he turns to look, he sees Steele on the rooftop far behind Zoe. Only to see the crow parasitized by Steele high above, watching all this, calmly directing the zombie herd to attack Gaia. Steele vowed to eradicate Gaia, the threat to their existence. Even if I can't kill you, I will crush your soul. Gaia immediately descended her body. He derived Tiger Fist and unearthed a stone. His eyes emitted a clever blue light. He transformed into a humanoid cannon.